please. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Are we going? I can't see anything saying yet.
Yes, recording has
Brilliant.
started. Yeah, thanks, Cordelia.
Right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Cordelia, and I'm Digital Inclusion Manager for Children's University Trust. This afternoon's session is a training on Children's University Online. So I'll be kind of going through the why behind Children's University Online, and also the how, so how to use it and working around in a practical fashion, working around the dashboard. So it's a 2-hour session, which will include a bit of an overview and then into practical exercises. So we've got our overview, which will just do some brief introductions, and we'll look at what Children's University Online is, so what it does for children, what it does for you as schools using the platform, and very briefly, just to give you a bit of context, what it does on a local level for your Children's University manager, but also for myself and my colleagues who work at Children's University Trust. We'll then be logging on and kind of working our way around the dashboard. I'll also be showing you what the children's dashboard looks like as well, so how they can kind of log activities, that different functionality for them. So just for our colleague on the call, it would just be useful for me just to get a bit of an idea as to where you're at with Children's University. Now, I think it's probably quite brand new, so some of these questions might not be applicable to you, but just a bit of an idea of kind of how you're planning on using Children's University. Is it going to be a whole school approach? Will children use both the passports and the online system? And if there's any particular kind of things I should know about your school and kind of the environment, that would just be really useful. So Bethan, if you're okay just to give a bit of a hello, that would be great.
Yes, that's fine. We're brand new to this. I did the initial training a few months ago and signed up, and I've had the login details, and I've had a look at the overview, just check I could get in, but I've done no more than that because I was waiting to see what today brought.
Perfect. That's exactly, we take you literally from logging in to being able to add activities to everything, so don't worry, you're in a good position. So is it going to be a whole school approach, do you think, or are you going to start with a smaller kind of cohort first?
Again, I'm not sure yet. I'm going to see what it looks like when we get into it today.
Brilliant.
Potentially it could be.
Potentially it could be a whole school thing. Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. So the other key person for you is also on our training, Sian. So how Children's University works as a structure is, I work at the Trust with only 4 of the colleagues. We're a really small team, sort of based around the Northwest. And then we work with a really wonderful, diverse network of Children's University managers who are nationwide, and they are the ones who will be your kind of first point of contact for the kind of day-to-day running of Children's University. So I think we touched on in that introduction graduations, which is the high point of what children are working to while taking part in Children's University. So we have an award structure, which I'll show you how to access that. And the award structure has certain hours associated with each award level. So you're looking at bronze, silver, gold, and it works its way up. They need a minimum of 30 hours of extracurricular learning, or learning beyond the classroom, we call it as well, which is any participation in activity that sits outside of the core curriculum can go towards these hours that they need to graduate. Graduations are a real high point. It's when they're celebrated, there's family, and they look different in kind of each area. So that's an area that Sian will be able to support you with. They tend to happen sort of once a year in the summer term, so it gives you that kind of academic year to work towards those hours and those certificates. She can also support you with child and parental engagement, ongoing training. So if you need a bit more to touch base with me again with anything, she can kind of signpost you to me or my colleague Sonia, who excuse me, supports on the kind of more operational day-to-day running of Children's University. And I'll talk a lot more about activities beyond the classroom and how they are kind of managed. But any activity within your local area can become part of Children's University, and children can gain stamp codes and hours for taking part in that, and Sean can help manage those relationships. So if you want to make a note of Sean's email address, and I'm sure I'm talking for you a bit here, Sean, but I'm sure you're happy to be contacted if there's any questions that come up.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, anytime, yeah.
Well, thank you. So your role within Children's University, we tend to call the role within a school a Children's University coordinator. So it's the kind of, you're the contact for the children when they're asking just various questions about Children's University in general. When we're looking at launching Children's University, it's quite helpful to look at hosting a bit of an assembly or a parent information session. Again, that might be something that Sean can support you with, or kind of we can get some resources to you to kind of support with that session. But it's really just to kind of give children the information about what Children's University is, get them excited, tell them how they can be collecting stamps within school and outside of school, talk to them about the graduation, that kind of thing, getting them raring to go, really. It's quite useful to have a Children's University display within school, so it's kind of a focal point of where children can go to see the list of different clubs that's on in school that are Children's University kind of approved or validated. They can, sometimes schools will have little mascots, like a little Children's University teddy that they can take round to different, sessions, that kind of thing. One of your key roles as a Children's University coordinator is to take control and take responsibility for the extracurricular learning within school. So all of this will come a bit clearer when we get online and start working our way around and looking at how to add your activities. But basically, you will be responsible for getting any extracurricular opportunity, any after-school clubs, any kind of structured learning that sits outside of the core curriculum onto Children's University Online, linked with a stamp code that can be given to children after they take part to enter into their dashboard, gain hours, that kind of thing. So that's your kind of key responsibility. You'll be responsible for keeping those activity codes up to date, and also, if possible, carving out time within the timetable, whether that's weekly or fortnightly, for children to be able to access tablets or computers or whatever it might be, to log on to their dashboard and enter in their stamp codes for all the different things they've taken part in. And then it's keeping in touch with Sean when it gets near graduation time, or any questions to get that up and running. By the way, please, and I know it's just the three of us on the call at the minute, but if there's any questions as I'm going through this, I can't see you while I'm sharing my screen, so please just interrupt me. I'm more than happy to be interrupted. So where Sean supports you on the kind of day-to-day running of things, and any kind of like operational questions, I can support you with the online side of things. So my contact details are there, but if you'd rather get in touch with Sean, she can always pass your email on to me, or we can organise, a Teams or a Zoom or whatever, and go through any issues you might be having. So what is it now, Bethan? I think you said you attended the information session. So some of these slides might be repeated, but it's always good just to have them there, just to remind everybody. But we created Children's University Online in 2019, and it goes alongside to work with the passports. You may have seen a passport. That's kind of the typical way children go and collect stamps for extracurricular learning. So prior to Children's University Online, we were a passport scheme. So every child who was a member of CU would take their passport to various different activities in school, outside of school, and get a signature. It would then be a manual job for the school or the CU manager to count up those hours and see who had hit the threshold for graduating, which is pretty labour intensive, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we created Children's University Online to add value to that passport scheme. So the passports are still in use. We know they're a really useful tool. It's lovely for children to have something tangible. It's also a place for them to write down those stamp codes so they don't forget them. But the key thing is the online now, because as well as taking away a lot of the admin work, it adds a lot of value for children, for their families, and for us as schools and at Children's University. So for children, when they're using the online system and they're entering in the stamp codes for activities they've taken part in, it unlocks a lot more information. So they can see their skills that they are developing in line with the Skills Builder framework. So for example, they can see I've spent 3 hours on staying positive, or 2 hours on my listening skill or my leadership skill. They can also see the categories of learning that they're engaging with. They've got an interactive learning log, which they can update themselves. They can add their own activities. They can print their learning log, and any activity that's added in school, they can see through their dashboard, encouraging them to try something new. And then for us at the Trust and for your CU manager and also at school level, we're able to report against skills development, categories of learning, provision and participation. It just gives a real in-depth insight into how Children's University and all of the wonderful extracurricular things you're doing within school is impacting children. So just a note on visibility and admin access. So we'll be looking at your dashboard, so your school level dashboard. When you log in, you will have visibility over all of your pupil data, and you'll be able to pull reports against your pupil data, and you'll be adding your in-school activities through your dashboard and be able to report against those. Any activities you add as a school are not publicly viewable by anyone else. So your CU manager can see them, but they're not publicly searchable. The children can see them through their own dashboard, so they pull through to the children's dashboard. When your manager logs in, they have got visibility over all of the network of schools within their area and all of the school data that sits beneath that. So they're able to support you if you have any questions or any issues. And my login at the Trust allows me to have visibility over everybody, so over all of our children's universities and all of the schools and the data that sits beneath that. So this is your dashboard. And as I said, once we've covered this sort of overview, we'll then be logging in and working our way around it. So I'll be getting you to add a colleague. We can either use real data. If you've got real data, that's a real colleague you want to add, we can do that. Otherwise, you can use test data. And the same with children's accounts as well. So we're going to be generating user accounts and some test accounts. But if you do have real data you want to be using, then we can look at that as well. We'll then have a quick look at the reports, so how to access reports and how you can use those to support CU. And then we'll be covering everything to do with activities. So how you find activities outside of school, who validates activities that are outside of school. So all of your kind of clubs that children go to within school, whether it's martial arts or swimming or whatever it is they do, how do we get those online? And then also, how do you get your in-school activities online? So all of that stuff we'll be talking about moving forward. So again, as we talk, I talk a lot about validation and activities in this session. So if you're not aware, when we talk about validating, all that means is a kind of Children's University stamp of approval. So we've looked at this activity, whatever it may be, and we've said, yes, this fits within our CU guidelines. So it's got structured learning, it sits outside of the core curriculum, and wherever possible, children take part in it voluntarily. So the way we manage that is any activities that are nationally available, so available to children wherever they live across the country, I will validate at the trust. So they are submitted through our website by our learning partners, or I will maybe add them myself through the dashboard. And these are often online activities, or they might be multi-site partners, such as Forestry England, Pets at Home, that kind of thing. So they've got kind of places all over that children, wherever you live, can take part in. Anything that's location specific, so within your particular area, so all of the kind of martial arts, gymnastics, dance, whatever it might be, coding that children do outside of school, these will come through to your local Children's University manager. So Sian will manage those relationships. And we'll be talking a bit more about how learning providers can kind of submit their activities, and how you can support children and families to be making them aware of that. So Sian will manage anything that takes place in your local area outside of school. And then for you as a school coordinator, you don't need to validate anybody that is external to school. You are just responsible for your in-school activities. So anything extracurricular, special workshops, whatever it might be, you can add those to Children's University online and get the stamp codes that children can start to collect. So any questions at this point? No? Okay.
No, I'm good, thanks.
A bit more, again, this is not what you need to worry about, but it just gives you a bit of understanding around how we manage activities within the local area. So as I said, anybody who's got a learning opportunity for children can submit their activities to be validated. And they can do this via the website, and I can show you later on when we go to log on the area of the website that learning providers can use. So there's a 6-question eligibility test, and then it's followed by a detailed form. So they need to tell us, describe their activity, how do children take part, what does the venue look like, all the kind of things that we'd need to know to be able to validate. They'll also be asked to tag any skills that they think children will be developing by taking part, and categories of learning that they get in, that they losing my words, that they take part in, and also how many hours that activity lasts for. They'll then submit this, and it will either go to your local CU manager if it's within a local area, or it'll come to us. That's step number 2, which is the review. So Sian or myself or whoever it might be will receive these submissions to the dashboard. We'll give it a good read, make sure everything makes sense and it's child friendly and it's all above board. There'll then be a conversation, which is number 3, with that learning provider. So quite often a Zoom or at least a phone call, just to discuss with them what Children's University is, hear more about their activity. And it's at that point, if they kind of fit in with the guidelines, that we would give them their stamp code. And you generate the stamp code as part of the process that you go through the dashboard. So it's kind of an automated process, and it's the same if you were adding an in-school activity. They've then got that stamp code that's unique to their activity, and it's that they give to children after they've taken part. And children can then enter into their dashboard, passports, that kind of thing. So although you're not responsible for validating anything that takes place outside of school, we do suggest that you encourage children and families to be getting the word out, because Sean can't possibly get in touch with everybody, you know, that runs activities in the local area. But if there are key activities that children do that they want recognised, then we've got these postcards, which are on the help page, and I'll show you where that is, that you're more than welcome to print out and give to families, and they can take them to the different things that their children do. On the back of it is a bit of information about what Children's University is, and there's a QR code. All the learning provider needs to do is give that a quick scan, and it will take them directly to the form to fill out. So it's a bit of a double-edged way of getting things on there. You know, when you first start, there might not be a lot of activities bang in the local area that children are involved with. So it's important that they are kind of speaking to and are supported to speak to their activity leaders and encourage them to submit their form. So a bit more about stamp codes. So as we've talked about, every activity, whether it's in school or outside of school, if it's got part of Children's University, it will have its own stamp code. And it's this that children are given after taking part. So say you've got after school football club, the person who's running the football club would need to be made aware of this code to give to the children after they've taken part. The codes are always a colour and 4 random numbers. So they're unique to each activity. And that code stores certain data within it that's taken from the form that you fill out. So whether you're filling out a form in school or an external provider is filling out that form, you've still got to answer questions about skills, categories of learning, and any employer or further education, higher education engagement, and how many hours that the activity takes part in. So all of that information is loaded into the stamp code. So when a child enters that into their dashboard, it will unlock that information, and then you will also be able to report against those metrics. So you'll be able to see, oh my gosh, we've got 10 activities that fall into sports and physical, but actually only 2 that look at nature and the environment, or STEM. So it just gives you a bit of pointers as to how you're doing with your extracurricular offer. So when we're talking about skills, we work with Skills Builder, and it's very much, there's a lot of synergy and parallels to the curriculum for Wales. So these skills are built in to Children's University at an activity level. So you'll see them when you go to add an activity. They're on the children's dashboard, so children have this wonderful shared language around skills development. And they're also on your report, so you can report against them very easily. So it really gives that shared language for children and helps them join up the dots as to activities that they kind of might just think, oh, it's fun, but actually being able to make that link between what they enjoy doing and the skills that they're building. So it's completely embedded within Children's University online. Skills Builder, if you want to find out more, they're well worth a bit of an explore. So they're a completely separate organisation, as I said, and they've got a framework of different activities around each skill in turn. So you can access a lot of activities that focus in on a particular skill. Some of it does sit behind a paywall. But if there's anything that you would like to look at that is behind that paywall, let us know, because we'll be able to get that for you. Oops, so how it works for children, you will be responsible as a school coordinator for setting up your pupils' accounts and generating usernames and secure passwords. We'll be working through how to do that, so don't worry about that for the moment. I will just say at this point, the usernames and passwords that are provided, initially, the password is a computer generated password, which is quite secure. The first time children log in, they get to change their password to something more memorable. So just be aware of that when we go through it. The initial password is changed the first time that they log in. They can then log on from any internet enabled device, so it works across all phones, all tablets. As long as you can get on the internet, children can get to their dashboard. So through their dashboard, they can see their progress against Children's University award levels, so they can see themselves inching closer to 30 hours, which is the first certificate level, and it's a bronze award. They can submit their stamp codes for activities they've completed. And as of 2 weeks ago, we have now added the new functionality, which allows them to add their own activities through the dashboard. So I'll be showing you how that works, but it's a really key development, and it's been asked for a while, because what it does is it kind of bridges that gap when you're waiting, or children are waiting for their activity leaders to submit a form, or maybe they're doing things which are not validated at all. So stuff at home, they can add that themselves by writing about what they've done, and they can automatically claim stamp codes through the dashboard if they give us enough information. So I'll be showing you that functionality. They can see their interests and skills develop, and the categories of learning they're engaging with. And anything you add via school pulls through to their dashboard. They're also encouraged to search for new activities within their local area as well. So we'll be looking at the dashboard on the live site, and I'll be kind of navigating around it, but it looks something like this. We are tweaking it slightly just to make it a bit more visually appealing, because we've been aware, that it's a bit blank at the moment. So we're adding a few kind of icons and making it a bit more jazzy is the word that springs to mind, but it's a bit old fashioned, but just a bit more fun to look at. But yes, and immediately that they log in, they can record an activity. This on the right hand side is their learning log, which shows them the kind of whole list of the different things that they've been up to. They can print or download that at any time. They can view their work if they've submitted any activities themselves, see how many hours they've got. They can see their award level, and they can see their top categories. They can streamline a search if they want to find more activities focused on a specific category, and the same with skills as well. So there's the skills builder, skills built into their dashboard. So for children, it's important that they are using the digital alongside the passport, because it gives that weight to it. They can see skills developing, they're having that constant communication around skills and categories of learning. They're encouraged to try something new, and it keeps that sense of momentum in between graduations. So if you're looking at graduations being once a year, we want them to kind of be engaged throughout while they're working up to that high point. How it works for schools. So you have been given your own school level login. If you're watching this as a recording and you haven't got a login yet, simply email Sian, and she can pass it on to me, and I'll set you up, and you'll receive an email, and you just follow the steps. So once you've got your own login, you can log in to Children's University online. You can then kind of administer over children's accounts. You can view their participation. You can add your own activities, and you can view those simple but important reports. So you've got participation by gender and age group, your extracurricular offering. This kind of highlights any cold spots or high success, and also engagement with HEFE and employers. And you've got those cross-cutting themes there, such as careers and work, and related experience with the curriculum. Yeah, so hopefully just from that little introduction, you can kind of see the value that it will give you as a school and to your children using it as well. But a key thing is you've got that actionable data. I know it's not Ofsted in Wales, but you've got basically at a click of a button the ability to pull down reports if you need to evidence to any stakeholders how your children have been interacting with your extracurricular offer. And you're also able to quantify what your children are doing beyond the classroom, highlights pupils' interests, and everything's in one place. So click of a button, you can pull down how many hours all your children have got. All of those reports are exportable as well. And very briefly, what it does for your local children's university and for the trust is similar. So we all use exactly the same dashboard, it's just the data that shifts. So for us at the trust, we use it to write our big impact reports that we publish annually, which is kind of everything we know from the past year of learning beyond the classroom in terms of participation and provision. So we use the same reports, it's just slightly bigger data sets, and it's the same for your local children's university manager. Brilliant. So I'll just pause there before we're about to move into this more practical side of things. So I was just wondering if there's any questions at this point before I keep going. No, all good. Okay, so I'll be returning to this slide at certain points just to make sure you're with me and you feel comfortable with what we're doing. So in the practical part of this session, we're going to be creating accounts for colleagues and for children. We're going to generate stamp codes. We'll look at the impact reports, talk a bit more about the validation process. We'll do a practical activity to add an in-school activity. Again, we can either use test data for this, or if you've got something in mind that you actually want to, that's going on in school at the minute, you can use that and we can add that for you. We'll look at where to find stamp codes and how to access activities validated outside of school. And I'm going to touch very, very briefly on the graduation report. I won't go into too much detail upon that because it's way off. But I just want you to know what it does because it sits on your dashboard. Okay, so just to remind you, your Children's University Coordinator is set up by either your CU manager or myself. So if you are watching this and you don't have a login yet, just pause it, contact Sian, and we'll sort that out. You can then, once you've got a login, generate an account for any colleagues within the school. So you can set up everybody, but I would suggest, you know, there is that phrase, too many cooks. It's quite good to have a key person that manages Children's University within the school, and then maybe somebody's part of SM, words have gone, like senior management. It's quite useful for them to have an account to keep an eye on the reports. You might have another couple of people that are helping you with the admin side, but it's up to you with how you want to manage that. We'll go through the process, but when you set up a colleague, they will get an email and they just follow the steps to set up their account. And then children's accounts are set up by the school coordinator, and we'll be going through how to do that. With that. So this is the website, and I'm just going to go to the actual website. So this website is where everybody comes to log in. So it's childrensuniversity.co.uk, and this is where children will log in from, yourself will also log in from, and any colleagues. You may want to, if you haven't already, have a bit of an explore around the website. The key areas that you will find useful, or your children and families are going to be using, are the find an activity. So this is where children and families come to find something within their local area. So you can see they can find something to do within where they live, or if they want to find an online activity, they can search for things they can do right now, or they can search by keyword or title. So this is where children come to search for things to do that are validated. You're learning anything that takes place outside of school, so all of the kind of clubs and various things children get up to. I was talking quite a bit about them needing to submit a form, so the activity leaders needing to submit a form, and they do that under get involved, and they just come here and fill out a form, and it takes them through the steps. The other area you might want to point your families to is activities to do at home and online. So they can use the search, but on this section of the website, we've also basically just grouped together loads of activities that they can be getting on with, and that are all free, require very little resources, and can be done at home or in an outdoor space. So specifically, I'm thinking of our challenge sheets. We put these out to correspond with the school holidays. So there's so many different things they can be getting on with if they need to boost their hours. And then if you were interested and you wanted to see how we use Children's University Online to kind of write our impact reports, you can have a little look about us. We've got the difference we make. So it's just worth having a bit of an explore of the website, just because there's quite useful resources on there. Okay, so Bethan, if I could ask you to log in now, and if possible, it would be useful if you could see my screen and see your dashboard. If not, don't worry, you might just have to go between the two or listen to me. So the first thing
logged in.
You're logged
in.
But I can't do both screens at the same time, unfortunately.
Don't worry.
I'll listen.
Yeah, just listen, or it might be a bit of turning back and forth. Are you okay, Sean?
Cordelia, sorry, yeah, we've got Lauren has joined us in the interim as well.
Hiya, Lauren. That's great.
Hello. So sorry I'm late. I had it down for 1:30.
Don't worry, we're just starting with the practical side of stuff, so you've not missed anything. Have you got a login, Lauren?
Yeah, I'm logged in ready.
Fabulous. Okay, Brill. So I was saying you might have missed, but I can't see anybody while I'm screen sharing, so I might get into a bit monologuing. So if you do have questions as I'm going through, please just interrupt me, and I'll be happy just to pause and go over anything that's needed. Okay.
Thank you.
So the first thing we're going to do is set up our colleague, basically. Have either of you got somebody real that you want to set up, or do you think you're going to set up a test?
Yeah, I'll set up my deputy head.
Okay, brilliant. How about you, Bethan?
I'll put the head in.
Fab. So just be aware that the second we do this, it will generate an automated email. So if they're not totally aware you're doing this, you might just want to find them after the session and just say, that's what this is. So all you need to set up your colleague is the full name of the member of staff, their work email address, the phone number of your school. If you don't know that right now, you can just put in 000, whatever it is. So I'll just talk you through how to do it, and then I'll let you know when it's your go. So from your main dashboard, you'd click add under school staff, and you basically come to a form, which is really straightforward. So username is their email address, and it'll be that they use to log into the site. You've got first name, last name, nickname is applicable. Phone number, you can just put zeros in if you're not sure for now and come back later, or put your real school's phone number in. The only area you need to be aware of is user type. So you've got school admin or school user. So if you're setting up your deputy or your head, they would definitely be set up as a school admin. 99.9% of the time, if it's a colleague, you're going to set them up as an admin. This gives them full admin rights. They can edit, they can view full data sets, they can add activities. A school user can log in, but they can't do much else. So they can't see certain data, they can't edit things, that kind of stuff. So once you fill out that information, you're going to press submit. So if you have a go at that now, so from your main dashboard, click add under school staff and just fill out that information and then press submit. And once you've done that, just let me know.
Are we able to change our nicknames? Because I've put mine as Dave.
Yeah,
I didn't realise the students had to see it.
I'll show you how to change that in a minute.
Thank you.
Mine's done when everyone's ready.
Brilliant, thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, mine's done.
Brill. So you should be able to see. Yeah, so basically, as I said, when you've pressed submit, that will trigger the automated email. It sometimes lands in the spam folder, so if they've not received it, just get them to check the junk. The link in that email, so it's exactly the same email you've both received. So the link in that email is the one that they need to click to set up their account. Now that link is time limited. So I think, Lauren, you might have had this issue. If you leave it more than 24 hours, it times out, so the link doesn't work. So what I'll show you is what to do if that's the case. So you should be able to see your colleagues within your school in a bit of a list. Can you see that at the minute?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you can. So what I would just want you to do is navigate back to your main dashboard. So you can do that by clicking the Children's University logo, top left, or just click back. So if you get to your main dashboard, to find that page again, so to get the list, all you need to do is click all under school staff. So just go ahead and do that now. And you should see your colleague and your account that you've just set up. Now, Lauren, if you want to change Dave, just click edit next to your account.
I've done it. Thank you, though. I found it. Yeah.
That's fine.
Thank you.
If you're if anybody hasn't got to their link in time, so the link's timed out, you can come here and you can click resend mail, which will just trigger another mail with another link in it. Or if there's any issues, you can click get activation link. This will take you to a link that you can just copy and paste and pop in an email, and they can click on whenever, and that doesn't time out. And then obviously it's just keeping on top of the housekeeping. So if anybody leaves school for good, moves on, you're just going to want to come here and make sure you archive or delete their account. Okay. Any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we can now add colleagues to CUO. So they'll be able to log in and they'll get to the same dashboard and see the same data that you can see. I think I've covered this, but we know if we're setting up a colleague, 9 times out of 10, unless there's a real specific reason, you're going to set them up as an admin. And we also know what to do if they haven't received the welcome email. You'd go to your list view and you'd resend mail, or you get the link. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to look at generating user accounts. Now, there's 2 ways of doing this. There's what I call the individual method, which is very much like adding a member of staff. basically that's only useful if you've got children who are joining part way through a year, or it's a very small cohort of children you need to generate accounts for. The other way is the import method, which allows you to bulk upload as many accounts as you like and generate as many usernames and passwords in kind of one go. So the data that we need to add children is full name, date of birth, year group, the gender, current hours spent on the program if applicable. Now, because you're brand new to CU, that won't be applicable. You'll just put 0 in there. What that means is if children might have had a passport full of hours before they've got an account, you can just pop in how many hours they've got and it will transfer automatically to their dashboard. But you're going to be starting with 0 because everyone's brand new. The UPN, which is unique pupil reference number, is optional. So we can leave that blank, but that can be a useful field to put in because it's a unique field. So it can then be used to cross-reference with whatever system you use in school, Sims, that kind of thing. If you wanted to look at free school meal data or any send data, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'll show you how to do it and then you can have a go. So the first way we're going to have a go at doing it is the individual method. So you click on add under school children. You then fill out the form. So first name, last name, date of birth, gender, year group, and then you can just leave the UPN blank, leave secondary blank, and just put 0 in current hours. And then you're going to press submit. Now, when you press submit, that will generate their username and password. I don't think you were here, Lauren, when I was saying, but the password that's automatically generated is quite complicated to begin with. When children log in for the first time, they will get to change their password to something more memorable. So that first session in school, if possible, it would be great if it could be supported so they can kind of log in together. Otherwise, it's just kind of, if you're sending this home to parents, just making parents aware that they only need to use this password once and then they can set their own up. That's more straightforward. Another key thing to really recognise is that we don't store password information on Children's University Online. This is to do with GDPR. So when you've uploaded or added a child, CUO will tell you you need to save those details. And if it's an individual child, it'll just save as a PDF. If you're doing a bulk upload, you can export it as a spreadsheet with all their usernames and passwords. If you don't save at that point, you're just going to have to delete and start again because you can't get the passwords back. So just make sure you do that. Okay, so if you get back to your main dashboard, if you haven't already, and then under school children, you're going to click add. So you'll see all import add. So just click add. And we're just going to fill this out with some test details. So if you could make sure you just call them test, the name of your school or whatever, and then fill out, make up the rest of the details and press submit, and let me know once you've done that. How are you getting on? You okay?
Yeah, mine's done.
Done. Brilliant. Are you okay, Lauren?
Yeah, mine's done.
Brilliant. So you can see, don't worry about saving the details for now, because it's obviously a test, but you'd need to if it was a real account. So straightforward. So this next way of doing it, the import method, is straightforward, but it's a bit fiddly. So you're just going to have to really listen for this little bit and then kind of make sure you're following instructions. But once you get into the swing of it, it's really straightforward. So the import method is when you're adding a large cohort of children in one go. So you can add from as many different year groups as you need to. You don't need to do it year group at a time. It's just one import that will generate the usernames and passwords. So to do this, you would click on import. You then get taken to a page which asks you to download a blank CSV template. Now, I'm not sure, you might be used to doing CSVs. They're quite common for school programs. But basically, a CSV is a spreadsheet that needs to be filled out in a particular format to be uploaded. So that CSV template, you're going to click download and it will download to your downloads or wherever it goes on your computer. You'd open it up and you'd see the spreadsheet is ready to be filled out. Now, the key thing is reading the instructions before you fill it out. So on the import page on Children's University Online, there's key instructions on how to format it correctly. So initially, this page looks a little bit confusing, but all it is it's kind of a mirror of the spreadsheet. So it shows you the header is first name, last name, date of birth, etc., whether it's a required field or not. And then you've got format of how to write it. So first name, last name, you're going to write it how you would usually write somebody's name. Date of birth is day, / month, / and the full year. So for example, if you put a full stop in there, it would error it and you'd have to come back and change it. Age group is just year group. So you'd write year, so the whole word year with a capital Y, and this is what trips people up. There's no space and then the number. So it would be year 2, would be year with a capital Y, no space, the number 2. Gender is male, female, or other, and it's the full word. So sometimes people put M or F. It needs to be the full word. And current hours, you can put 0, UPN, you can leave blank. So it's just about making sure everything's in that format. Once you've filled that out, you're going to save it, and just save it for now because I think we're going to use test data. Just so you can save it to your desktop. But obviously, if it was real children's data, you might need to save it somewhere a bit more secure. It's already in the correct format for you, so it's already in CSV format. Sometimes people change it to Excel and then it gets confused. It's already in the correct format. You can name the file what you like. You then go back to Children's University Online onto the import page. You scroll down and it will ask you to choose file. So then you just look and find your file that you've saved on your computer. And once it's uploaded, you'll see the validate button, that's blue, becomes clickable on. So if you click on that, it will then tell you whether you've made any mistakes or not. If you've made some mistakes, you can just go back, edit, and re-upload. And when everything's correct, it will go green and you can begin import, which will then give you the list of all of the children's usernames and passwords. And as I said, you can then save as CSV. You can do both, so you can get a PDF as well, but I would always recommend saving as a CSV because that gives you kind of working document that you can mail merge or you can kind of move around. PDF is obviously like a static document. Okay, so if we use 3 test pupils details, if you can see my screen, I've got the correct format on my screen, or you can look at the import page. So if you get back to your main dashboard, you're going to click on import under school children. And then you need to download the CSV file. Once that's downloaded, open it up and you'll see the spreadsheet ready to be filled out. So if we do 3 test learners, like I said, just focus on the date of birth needs to be day / month / the full year. Age group is year group, so it's year with a capital Y and then the number 5 or 4, whatever it is. Male, female, other is the full word, and then it's 0 for hours. So if you could fill that out and then save it somewhere easy to get to, and just let me know once you've saved it, and or let me know if there's any problems. Okay, you getting on okay with that?
Yeah, I've saved it.
Brilliant. When you say done, have you saved it or have you managed to upload it?
I've just saved it.
Fabulous, thank you. How are you, Bethan?
I've just put the data in, so I'm ready to save it now.
Grand. So I'll give you a second to do that, and then it'll be the next step. Okay, so once you've saved it, which you have, which is great, head back to the import page on Children's University Online. And you're going to scroll to the bottom of that import page. And you'll see where it says choose my file or something along those lines. Just click on that, and then you need to find file that you just filled out and where you've saved it. And you'll know it's uploaded because that blue button will be clickable on where it says validate. So once it's uploaded, just click validate when that becomes a live button, and it will show you whether you've made any mistakes, or it will go green, which tells you everything is correct, and then you can click begin import. So if you just get to that point, if it goes red, just let me know. If it goes green and you press begin import, just let me know as well. That'd be great.
Sorry, Cordelia, what do I need to do first?
Yeah, so get back to the import page on CUO. Then if you scroll to the bottom of that page.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the button, once you've uploaded it, the button will become live where it says validate. You can just click on that. How are you getting on? Have you all managed to click on the validate button?
I'm just arguing with my computer a minute. So I'm gonna do it again and resave it and find it somewhere else. I've got a green button now that says begin import.
Fabulous. So if you click begin import, you'll see there's all your usernames and passwords.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so don't worry about saving them for now, but obviously if it was a real upload, you'd need to save those passwords. How are you doing, Lauren?
Yeah, okay.
You managed to upload them okay?
Yeah, my import's complete.
Brilliant. So yeah, so like I said, it's straightforward. It's just a little bit fiddly, and you just have to kind of make sure everything's correct before you upload it. Okay, so now we've got some accounts on there. Basically, you can get to those accounts at any time by clicking all under school children. So I don't know whether you want to just nip back. You might be able to see those children in a list that you've just added. If not, if you just get back to your main dashboard and then just click all under school children. So you can access the accounts at any time. Now, there's certain admin functionality that's available to you now that you've set up some accounts. So obviously we've just got test children in there at the minute. When you set up your learners, you'll have everybody in one long list, no matter what year group that they're in. So the first thing that you're going to want to do if you're looking at particular year groups is use your search and filters. So I'll just check if you've not done already, just get back to your main dashboard and then you're going to click all under school children. Okay. So your search and filters, once you've clicked all, is on your right hand side. So this is what you use to kind of drill down by year group, or you can search by individual name. That allows you to kind of find accounts really quickly and easily. The other things that are available to you is the ability to batch add stamps to 50 children in one go. So what I mean by batch adding stamps is, for example, say you've set up an activity for an extracurricular workshop, which is 2 hours. And instead of giving all the children that stamp code, you might just want to quickly come onto this page, select the year group that attended, and you can just type in that stamp code once and it will go to all of those children's accounts to a maximum of 50. So it's a really quick way of kind of managing stamp codes and adding them to accounts from your dashboard. Obviously, we want children to be logging on and doing it themselves for the engagement purpose, but sometimes it's just much quicker just to kind of go, right, I've got this, they've just done that, I can just enter it in once and it will go to all of their accounts. You can also revoke stamps. So say you've done that by accident, or you're aware that some children are being a bit cheeky and adding things for stuff that they haven't done, you can easily come in and revoke them. And you can delete, you can archive, and also reset any passwords if they've forgotten their passwords. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing that you'd want to do if you were batch editing accounts is change how many accounts per page you see to 50. So any edits you do don't go across pages. So you want the maximum accounts on one page. Obviously, we've only got 4 accounts or whatever on there at the minute, so it doesn't matter. But that's what you would do if you had like a long list of children. You can then see the children's accounts in a list, and to select those accounts so we can edit them, you can see that there's a little box on the left hand side next to each account. Can you see that little box? Yeah, you can see that little box. So you can either select individual children, or you can click the box that's at the top, which I think is next to first name, and that will select everybody. So if you just select everybody, so it's the box that's at the top on the left next to first name, that will select everybody. You'll then see that the edit selected button in the middle of the top of the page becomes live, okay? And that's a drop down. So that's where your admin functionality options are. So if you do that now, if you can select everybody and then click edit selected and have a look at the drop down. Okay, have you done that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can read these stamps out for you if you can't see my page. But the first thing you're going to do is add a stamp to all of those children. So if you click add stamp from that drop down, and the stamp code you're going to type in that box is orange, no space, 5013. So let me know once you've done that.
Yeah, all done.
Yeah, and so it says check, so you can check it and then just press whatever it says, confirm, submit. So you'll see that that stamp is immediately added to all of those children in one go. Just try it again. So again, do the same thing, edit selected, add stamp. This time you're going to add yellow 0155. So yellow 0155 and add that to all children. Okay, so you can also revoke a stamp as well. So we can have a go at doing that. Let me know if I'm going a bit fast, by the way. But do the same thing again. So edit selected, but this time you're going to click revoke stamp. And you're going to write in orange 5013. And then press check and revoke. And let me know when you've done that.
Yeah, I'm done.
Brilliant. So you can see how that would be really useful. Like say you've got a big thing going on in school, you know, you just want to get that on their dashboards really quickly. You can just do it through the back end. Now the other functionality is archiving. So archiving will pull the child's account out of all your reporting data. They won't be able to log on. They'll kind of disappear off the child list. But if needed, you can restore their account. So say a parent says they don't want their child to take part in it anymore or whatever, you can archive, but they might change their mind at some point. So if you just have a go at archiving, so just select one child this time. So just select one child and then edit selected and press archive and let me know when you've done that. So they should disappear.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Yep, done.
To bring that account back, go into your search and filters on the right hand side and you'll see a little button at the bottom that says I can't even remember what it says, include archived or something like that. Click that little button and press submit. You'll then see that archived account and you just need to press restore and it'll pull them back into they'll be able to log on and you'll be able to report and all of that sort of stuff. Okay. Deleting is a hard delete, so that you'd only do that if you were sure children were properly leaving the school and they weren't going to another CU school. So you can't accidentally delete, because you just need to press delete, then you need to actually write the word delete before you can press confirm. So that's not an automated system, so don't worry too much about that. Any questions about any of the admin functionality? No?
No.
So if you get back to your child list, you can just click back, or if you might already be on there. So you can see what children have been claiming stamps for and what they've been up to inside and outside of school. You can just click view hours. So if you just click view hours next to any account, you should see the 2 stamps that we've just added in. And you could, if you wanted to, click into that activity and have a bit of a view as to what they've been doing. So you don't need to be monitoring that, but sometimes it's just quite interesting just to have that kind of overview. You can also reset passwords, which is straightforward, but again, I get questions about this at least every week. So if you just have a go at this now, so just press reset password next to one of your accounts, one of your children's accounts. You'll see there's a bit of text, and it then asks for your current password, child's new password, confirm child's new password. Now the text explains it, but obviously, me included, people don't often read the text that's there. Your current password is the bit that confuses people. They tend to read that as the child's current password that they've forgotten. It's not. It's your admin password that you use to log on to your dashboard. It's just an extra security step. So you enter in your current password, you can then reset the child's password. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to remind you, the usernames are set, so they can't change their usernames, but their passwords are changed the first time that they log in. So just to check, we can now download and populate the CSV import with children's data. We know how to upload it. We know to save the login information, and we can use admin functionality, so we can batch add stamps, search and filters, delete, archive, revoke stamps, and reset passwords. So before we look at the report, I'll just show you the children's dashboard quickly. So always shrinks it on my screen for some reason. So this is what the dashboard looks like when children log on. As I said, there's going to be some icons added to make it a bit more visually pleasing. So they can come in and record an activity. If they've got a stamp code from something they've done, they can add it here, add stamp, and it will add that stamp to their learning log. If they don't have a stamp code, so say they've done something that isn't validated, or they've done it just at home or whatever, they can say, no, I don't have a stamp code. And this is the new functionality that we've added, which has been asked for quite a while. So here they would need to give a title to it. So let's say painting, next, and then just very briefly, a sentence. Okay. Now that's recorded their activity to their learning log, but they don't get any stamps for that until they fill out some more information. So they can press continue, and this is where they need to tell us what they did to gain automatic stamp codes. So they can say, they can write a book review, talk about a film they may have watched, so where they went, but for this one I did a different kind of activity. They then need to pick the category they think their activity falls under. So I'm going to say arts. They then need to tell us about it. So these questions are designed to be quite in depth because they are going to be getting a stamp code. I won't bother filling all these out for now, but it's things like describe what they did, what did they learn, What did they like and dislike about it? Would they recommend it to a friend? All sorts of things. They need to think about the skills that they've used, and then they can go and say how many hours their activity went on for. They can pick between 1 hour and 3 hours. So we've capped it at 3. They can't get more than 3 hours by doing this. So their activities are always stored in their learning log. So the learning log is where they come to see what they've done. So any activities that they've written about, so I've got one here, built a tower, they can view their work and what they wrote. They can download it if they want to, print it. Anything that they've just recorded, so they've just, given a sentence about but not filled out any information, they can always come back and finish it off at a later point to gain more hours. So they can see how many hours they've got. When they hit an award level, they get a celebration screen, which looks something like that. They've got their next award level up as well to help them kind of have that aspirational to the next level. And they can click find an activity, which will take them directly to the activity search. They collect badges as they go along for various milestones. They've got their top categories that they've been involved with, but they can also see all categories, so things they've not got any hours in, and find activities that build those ones. And they can see their skills as well, so the same stuff for skills and a bit of information about what each skill means. And then anything you add, which we're going to be going through in a minute, as a school, they can see it pulls through here. Obviously that's a test Latin text, so it wouldn't look like that. So it's straightforward to use, but hopefully nice and engaging. So I'll just get back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so quick look at reports, and then we're going to look at everything to do with activities. So basically, your reports are always available to you through your dashboard, but obviously they only start to get interesting when children are engaged with their own dashboard. You're adding activities, there's stamp codes, all of that sort of stuff. And it's these reports which are impactful and will help you illustrate what your extracurricular offer looks like to parents, any stakeholders. So the reports are always accessible under the yellow banner on your main dashboard. And I'm just going to run through a few and what they do, and then you'll have a chance to have a little look at them. You can pull a report around activities available for children by category within your school. So this will look at the 16 different categories that we've got, which you'll see when we go to add an activity. And this covers everything from sports and physical, STEM, art, to careers and enterprise, nature and the environment, social and community action, mental health and well-being. It kind of covers everything. So you'll be able to do a report against each one of these categories. So it'll show you how many activities you've got that fall into there. You can do exactly the same by skill. So you've got your 8 skills from Skills Builder, and you can kind of see and measure how many activities you've got available to children by those skills. You can see hours of children's participation by category. So you've got your provision, which is what's available, but also your participation, which is what are they actually doing? Are children taking part in these activities and logging those hours? And the same by skill as well. So you could pull a report that say, right, over the last term, we've had children log 15 hours against mental health and well-being and positive thinking. They've done 10 hours against STEM and problem solving. It just really allows you to drill down. You can see your age participants by age group and by gender. So that's quite interesting. If CUO isn't compulsory within school, then you might want to look at what the gender split is. Is there more girls using it than boys? If so, why do you think that is? You might then want to go back to what's available, look at the categories and skills, and kind of have a bit of an explore there. You can see your daily logins by school if you want to monitor your colleagues, and you can do an export of child information by school. Now that one is extremely useful. So the export child information, that allows you to pull a spreadsheet down which shows you all of your children, how many hours each child has got, and where those hours have been gained. So it's a really quick overview. Say if you're heading towards graduation time and you want a snapshot of who's might need a bit of extra support, or who might need kind of boosting with a few challenge sheets to get up to 30 hours, it gives you that real insight there. You can then also see number of engagements with employers and numbers of engagements with further education and higher education, and you can do an export of all of that engagement information. And this is our State of the Nation. So this is what we put out from the Trust every year, and it's always based on what data we've got from Children's University Online, anonymised, obviously, what we know from that past year about learning beyond the classroom. So this past one that's just gone out was in September, and we looked at 50,000 children, so data from 50,000 children, which is now 70,000 children it's gone up to using CUO, 12,000 activities, which has gone up to 16,000 now, and 310,000 hours of recorded participation, which I think now is at over 500,000. So it's quite big data sets that we've been using. So this is the kind of details we're able to get. So we're able to get the kind of provision and participation against further education, careers and enterprise, activities that demonstrate a link between learning and a career pathway. As you can see, they're quite low. So that's part of our role to kind of try and boost those activities within the system. You can see the categories of provision, and Sean helpfully gave me this slide as well, which kind of is that crossover with the areas of learning and experience. So you're able to see here, this is nationally and everybody, kind of how many activities we've got in each of the different categories. And again, participation, so what are children and young people actually taking part in? And you can also see the skills. So this is what that one looks like. The reports look a little different from this, but it's all the same data. And again, you've got those crossovers there. If you just want to have a quick little look at those reports, they're not going to be there's going to be absolutely zero interesting data on there, because obviously you're brand new, you've not got activities on there yet, but I just want you to know where they're at. So if you just get to your main dashboard and you're going to click on reports under the yellow bar, and you can just see where they are. Click in if you want. All of them are exportable, so they all pull down into spreadsheet format as well. And it's this area that your deputy or your head might find particularly interesting. They might want to have that overview. So we know where they are. We've got an understanding of how they can be used to support CU, and you also know that you can always export the data from the reports. Just while you're doing that, I just want to make you aware of the help page. So the help page is always available to you. It's on the top of your dashboard, and it just says help. And you just click on that, and it will open up a new tab, and that is where you've got step-by-step guides on all the functionality that we've been covering. So that takes you from like logging in to batch adding a stamp. There's also the learning postcards on there. So, you know, the things I was talking about, you can give to families to take out to different activities they're part of. They're on there. I need to do a bit of updating of the help pages, but we're going to be popping on some resources that you can use to send out to parents and carers. So just keep an eye on the help page. If there's anything you need a refresher of, it should be on there for you. Okay, and yeah, if you make a mistake on CUO, everything is you can redo everything. So do feel free to have a bit of a play around. Everything can be rectified by archiving or deleting. Obviously, the only thing that you need to be aware of is saving the usernames and passwords, but everything else you can kind of have a bit of a mess around with. So moving on to the kind of last section of this afternoon's session. So we're going to be looking at activities, which is a key part of your role as a school coordinator. So we're going to be looking at how to access activities taking place outside of school, adding an in-school activity. We're going to be generating stamp code. So I'll be talking you through the 2 different stamp codes you can make as a school, which is a multiple use activity stamp or a single use activity stamp. We'll use the search and filters as well. Okay, so I think I've covered a lot of this, but just as a reminder, you don't validate activities outside of school. That is your local senior manager's role and my role at the trust. But you are responsible for encouraging children to get the word out. So if there are activities that they do that aren't recognised, then you need to be kind of either giving them those postcards, which are on the help page, or getting them to point their activity leaders towards the website, and they could submit their form under Get Involved Learning Providers. And yeah, that's just another thing of the postcards. There's lots of different ones and they're all on the help page. And we've covered that. There's lots of activities they can be getting on with straight away under Get Involved, activities to do at home and online. And there's information on all of those activities as to how they claim their stamp codes. Okay, so as a school, you are responsible for setting up your in-school activities that are extracurricular beyond the classroom. There's 2 ways in which you add your in-school activities. There's what we call adding a full activity, which is your main way you're going to be doing things, and that is add activity. Or there's adding a basic activity, which is when you've got really ad hoc, one-off, random things that take place, and it's a quicker way of doing it. And I'll talk you through the differences of those in a minute. So when you go to add your activity and you fill out all of the form, you'll then be taken to making your stamp code, which is linked to the activity. And it's that is given to children after they take part. So you've got a couple of options as to how you want to do it, and it's completely up to you as a school in what works best for you. So you've got the single use activity stamp and the multiple use. So the single use activity stamp does kind of what it says on the tin. So this would be used for an activity that is a one-off. So let's say a workshop. It's not a reoccurring thing. It's not happening weekly. It's kind of a specialist person's coming to school and they're doing this workshop. So what you would do there is you would say how many hours that workshop lasts for. So let's say an hour or 2 hours. You click single use activity stamp, generate stamp. This would then give you a stamp code that could be used by the whole of the school if needed, but each individual could only use that once. So if they try to add it again on the dashboard, they wouldn't be able to. So that single use is for one-off kind of activities. The multiple use activity stamp is used a lot within schools for activities that are taking place on a weekly basis. So all of your kind of extracurricular clubs, football club, so knitting, whatever it might be, choir, all of those things that take place each week, you'd probably want to use a multiple use activity stamp. So the way that works is you'd say how long a session lasts. So let's say it's an hour. If you have half an hour sessions, you can put 0.5, or 45 minutes is 0.75, and then you've got an hour, 1.5, 2 hours, etc. So you'd say how long the session lasts. You'd then say it's a multiple use activity stamp, and then more options would open up for you. We're going to do this together on the site as well, so don't worry too much if it all feels a bit abstract. You'd say that each use adds the full hours, so that every time the child adds this stamp, they get the full hours that you've said how long the session is. You can then cap how many times you want that stamp to be used. So say it's a session that's running once a week for the full year, you might say it can be used 52 times. I know there's not 52 weeks in an academic year, but just for ease. That would mean that that child can add that stamp each time they go up to 52 times, and the stamp code remains the same each time. So whoever's running the activity doesn't have to remember a new stamp code every session. Any questions at this point? I always find this bit can be a little bit confusing at first. No? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this together. So I'm going to get onto our test site. Did I have it? Sorry, it's easier said than done when I'm trying to so many different things open. Yeah, but give me 1 second. Aha, there we go. Perfect. So this is a test site. So what you're going to do is you're going to do this with me, and like I said, please let me know if I'm going too quickly, because I won't know otherwise. So you're going to be looking at this section here. If you're not on your main dashboard, just click on the logo to get back to your main dashboard. And we're going to click on Add Activity under Activities. Now this will take you to the form that you will need to fill out. And this form is exactly the same as what the learning providers fill out as well. So the first thing you're going to do is select that your activity takes place in school, and it will auto-fill with your school there. So if you do that with me now, you're then going to give your activity a title. Now, if you've got something in mind that's actually happening, you can pop it in there and you can come back and edit at a later date. Otherwise, just put in test activity. Okay, and once you've written your activity title, if you just copy that, because what we're going to do is we're just going to paste that title into each box just to save some time. Now you can upload a photo as well. If your activity has got a logo, you can upload a file there, and that'll be part of the listing. If you need to be a member of a group club to take part, then you can click yes and fill out some more information. Well, let's leave that blank for now. And in describe the activity, you're going to paste your title. Now it says here this will be public facing and used as part of your on listing, so make it appealing and child friendly. It's not public facing in the way that anybody can see it and stumble across it. All that means is your learners in school will be able to see it on their dashboard. Then you've got what learning is involved. Again, paste in that box. So that's not public. So that will just be your learning outcomes, key objectives, that kind of stuff. When does it take place? For now, I'm going to put no fixed time, but you could put on a schedule, and that would allow you to pick days of the week and that kind of thing, and dates. But let's put no fixed time. And then in additional scheduling running information, just paste your title. Minimum age and maximum age for taking part is self-explanatory, so just pick whatever. Is there a cost to take part? Leave that blank, but if there was, you'd need to click it and then fill out some more information. Then you've got your activity duration. Now this is what's going to inform your stamp code when we get to that point. You can change it at the last page, but try and think about it now. So you're thinking about how long a session of an activity lasts for. So say it's football, it might be 1 hour. So let's put 1 in there. You've then got your categories. So you need to pick 4, you can pick up to 4, but you don't have to. You need to pick at least 1, but be selective. So don't feel like you need to pick all 4 just because it says you can pick up to 4. So let's pick whatever. And again, the same for the skills. So you can pick up to 3 skills, but you don't need to. You just need to pick at least 1. And then at the bottom, you've got your engagement tags. So these are optional. So leave these blank if they're not applicable. But if you were to tag them, they pull through to your reporting data. Okay. So once you've done that, just press next at the bottom. And then you've got your location information. So I would imagine most of the time it's taking place in a single fixed location, which will be the school. It should have auto-filled your school for you. But if it hasn't, just fill out those details now. Are you with me? Are you at the same place of me?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Address information, yeah. Says it, if it's auto-filled, then you can just scroll to the bottom and press next. Then you've got person information, so person running the activity. If it varies, you can click that box and put some details. Otherwise, just paste your title in there. But that's where you'd put the name of the member of staff who's running that activity. And scroll to the bottom and press next. And now this page is a bit annoying. It's really for Children's University managers because it will ask you whether you've discussed this activity with the activity provider. Just to get to the next step, you just need to click both of these boxes, even though it's not totally applicable. Okay, so when you're on this page, just click both of the boxes and then you're going to press submit. And if you let me know once you've pressed submit and you're onto your hours add activity, which is the stamp page.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You're there, brilliant. Lauren, are you okay? I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So basically now this is where you make your stamp. So this is where you'll need to think, okay, I've got how many times do I want this stamp to be used? If it's a regular activity, you know, so it might be that the activity is running for a term, in which case it might be something like 10 weeks. It's been ages since I worked in a school, I'm not totally sure. So you might think, right, I want this to be used up to 10 times because it's going to cover that term's worth of activity. Or if it's something that's running all the way through the year, you can make a stamp to reflect that. So you should have at the top here how long the session lasts for. We're then going to make a multiple use activity stamp. So click on multiple use. More options will open up for you. So we want each use to add the full hours because every time the child adds this stamp, we want them to get the full hours that we put up here. So if you just click each use adds the full hours, then you can cap how many times you want the stamp to be used. So I'm going to say 10. So I want this stamp to be used up to 10 times per individual. So once you've written it in there, how many times you want that stamp to be used, you can then click generate stamp. And just let me know when you've generated your stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So if I just get back to the main dashboard, now if you just follow me and get back to your main dashboard, to get to your activities, you need to press all under activities, which you can do now. It's going to take a while to load. Now, when you click all under activities, what you'll see is, if you scroll, you'll see there's thousands and thousands of activities. This is because you can see any activity that's been added by other children's universities nationally. You can kind of look at everybody else's resources. You can't see other schools' activities, and nobody else can see your school activities either, apart from your CU manager and your children who attend your school. So don't worry about that. The reason why we've done this is because there might be things you want to pinch. There might be, you know, say somebody's brought in a picture of something they've done at home. Look, there's one there, arts and crafts. You might just go, oh, right, let's have a look at this. I'll just pinch the stamp code from that. Or, you know, you can use your search and filters to search for different things that might have already been added by another CU. But if you look at your activity that you've added at the top, you'll be able to view. So if you click view next to your activity and scroll down, you can see your stamp code that you've just added. You can also add another stamp if needed as well. So say that's people have used that up to the 10 times and it's the next term and the activity is still running. You could, instead of having to make a whole new activity, you just click view and add a new stamp to that particular activity, if that makes sense. If you just click back and get back to the list of activities, you can also edit at any time. If you need to edit dates or anything like that, you can click edit. What's usually quite a useful one for schools is the clone button. So the clone just basically gives you a carbon copy of what you filled out. So if you've got activities that are really similar but have got slightly different names or slightly different information, you can just press clone, tweak the bits you need to tweak. It will then take you through. Just go down and click, go down and click next, and it will take you through to making a new stamp code. So you don't need to make a new activity each time. You can also archive from here as well and see how many times a stamp's been claimed. You've got your search and filters on your right hand side. So if you wanted just to see your in-school activities rather than seeing everybody else's, you would just come to your search and filters, click school, and then press submit, and that would just show you your in-school activities. You can also search by Children's University, so you might want to think, let's see what's on in South East Wales, and that would pull back all of the activities within your local area. Okay, the last thing that's useful, really useful here, is the export. So the export is at the top of the page, and that allows you, it's a bit like, you know, the batch adding stamps and things. You can select all, or you can select just individual activities. But this allows you to click export and you'll pull down a spreadsheet of all of your in-school activities, all of the stamp codes, all of the important information in one place. So the first thing you might want to do to get started with Children's University after today's session, not straight after, but at some point when you've got a bit of time, is sit down and start adding the activities that you know you've got going on in school. It just is a nice way to get things preloaded onto Children's University online before the children start logging on and exploring. You've already got your activities on there. So once you've added your activities, you might want to export, and then you can pin that up in the staff room so everybody's aware of the different stamp codes and what they are. Okay. So just to get back to the main dashboard, as I said, you're going to be adding your in-school activities as a full activity, which is the form that we've just filled out, because it's this that pulls through to the children's dashboard. The basic activity, as you saw some in the list when we clicked on all activities, you can see is just a much more stripped down form. So it just needs a title, hours, category, skills, and then you make your stamp. Because there's no scheduling information or anything, they don't appear anywhere. They're just a way of making a quick stamp. So they're only for like really ad hoc, one-off things that children don't need to be aware of. So for example, I get sent like pictures of cakes that have been baked with grans or whatever. I'm not going to sit and make a full activity about that, but I can just make a really quick basic one and get a stamp code. So all you need to be aware, just as a recap, is if you're adding your in-school activities, you use add activity, select it's in school, and then just follow that form and make your stamp code. To find your activities, you're just clicking all, and there's going to be a list in 1 second. Yeah, and then you can use your search and filters just to see your own in-school activities or have a look at what other people have added. Now, if you have added a test activity, I'm just going to ask you to archive that now, because you will be on the live site. So if it is test, we don't want children to be seeing it. So if you just take a second now just to archive that, if it is a test activity. If it's a real activity that you need to edit, then leave it there. You can just go back at another time, click edit, and just edit those details. Is there any questions around the activity side of things? No? Everyone okay? Okay, I've done that. Yeah, so the only thing to say more on that is, you may want to have a conversation with your colleagues about what works best for you as a school. Really, the multiple use is the most engaging. It enables children to kind of log on each week, add their codes that they've collected that week, and it keeps them up to date with their dashboard. The other way of doing it that some schools use when there's just no capacity is to create a single use stamp that covers a whole term's worth of activity for each session. So I've got an example there. You've got a STEM club that's running for a 10-week term. You might want to create a stamp that can be given to children after each session, so it's used a multiple use that can be used up to 10 times. The other option would be to create a single use stamp for 10 hours that's added once at the end of term and gives them their full whack once. It's up to you, but I would say the multiple use is kind of more engaging. And just, I'm sure you're probably aware, but children can't search for stamp codes themselves. Otherwise, they'd be adding stuff for anything that they hadn't been to. So it's important that colleagues in school are aware that children need to be made aware of the stamp codes for their session that they're running. And just some ideas of where you might want to help children to add stamp codes. So you've got your launch assembly, which is where you'll explain how it works. If possible, things like lunchtime drop-ins are really useful, where children can go and access tablets and enter in their stamps for the week. And sometimes schools are able to incorporate a Monday morning session or Friday afternoon sessions, maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks, or it can be incorporated into ICT. It just levels the playing field for those children who might not have the support at home to be logging hours. It just makes sure everybody has a fair chance at keeping up to date. Okay, we covered that and we've done this. Okay, so hopefully you feel confident that you understand the validation process, who does what, and we know how to add an in-school activity and create activity stamps. Yeah, so the only thing as well with activities is if you go to search for an activity that is not there anymore, it might be because you've attached a date to it. After that date is passed, Children's University Online automatically archives it. So to bring it back, it's just exactly the same process as it is when you bring back an archived child account. You just go in the search and filters, and there's a little box that says include archived and past. That'll bring back those archived activities for you to restore. Okay, the last couple of minutes now, I'll just touch on the graduation report because it's on your dashboard. But basically, the graduation report is just to be left alone completely. So its purpose is to keep track of those children who have hit a minimum of 30 hours. So it doesn't show any children who haven't got to at least the bronze award. So it's designed only to be exported at graduation time when all the hours are up to date. So this is why you don't need to worry about it at all at the minute. Yeah, there we go. So it would look something like this. So you'd have your names of your children down one side, how many hours that they've got, and then you've got our award structure around the top. For the full award structure, that's on your help page if you want to have a look at that. but it will show you what level they're at. So bronze, silver, gold, bronze, silver, gold. And at graduation time, this is when you would click export, and that would pull down the kind of finalized sheet as to who's ready to graduate. This will then be mail merged with Children's University certificates, and then it's graduation time. Just be aware, don't export it unless it is at that time. It's not the end of the world if someone does it by accident, but it just muddies the data, and there's a bit of unpicking that needs to be done, because when you export, that kind of locks in that data. So it kind of visually says that those children have had that award, for them then to be moving on to the next level and the next level and the next level. So that's all I'm going to say about the graduation report at the minute, is like, leave it alone for now. When you do get to graduation, which would probably be next year, maybe sort of spring, summertime, that is when, you know, be chatting to Sian, or we can have a meeting with Sian and yourselves, and it'll be looking at kind of pulling that data down. So yeah, just don't worry about it for now. And just remember, if you want to keep track of children's hours, there's a much easier report to use in the actual report section, and that can show you all of that data. Okay, so just remember, keep a track of the help page. That's got all of your kind of step-by-step guides on there. It's got resources like the learning destination postcard, the award structure, that kind of thing. The resource file on your dashboard is just where we put kind of handy bits and bobs. So you don't need to worry if it's got no functionality attached to it, but you can keep an eye on that if you want to. Video tours are on the help page. I need to update those actually with the new children's dashboard, but they'll be updated by the time you launch this with your learners. And obviously, Sian's your first point of contact. You can then signpost if needed. So just to cover, just to run through the checklist of everything we've covered, we created accounts for colleagues and children. We generated our stamp codes. We looked at the impact reports. We talked a lot about the validation process. We added an in-school activity. We talked about where to find stamp codes and how to access activities validated outside of school. And we had a quick look at the graduation report. Hopefully you know where to access support ongoing if and when you need to. So that's the end of today's session. I don't know if you want to just stop recording, Sian.
Yeah, I will. Just before I do stop recording, if you don't mind, Cordelia, I mean, first of all, huge thank you to you, Cordelia, for that session. I know colleagues would have found it really useful. I think, just for the record, really, I think going back to the points that you've made throughout the presentation, I think it's really important to have as much buy-in as possible in the school, which would include parents as well. So, you know, senior management team, colleagues across the school, obviously the learners as the key beneficiary of this. But as I said, parents as well. And I know that schools have put on very specific sessions for the likes of parents, and obviously they've had it discussed at SLT meetings as well. Just as I said, so that everybody is fully engaged, and because I think that's one of the keys to make it as successful as it possibly can be, and especially when, you know, we're looking to, as a school, you're looking to celebrate, you know, with the local community, again with parents and carers as well as colleagues in school. So I'm just going to stop the recording now.